Hey, I want to talk to you today about the word indispensable. It's brought to you by the letter E and the number 14. Um, Indispensable. It was funny because I actually just wrote a blog post about this because I saw that Seth Godin has a book called Indispensable. It's got a foreword by Hugh MacLeod, great cartoonist, and it got me thinking to a story back when I was 25 years old. I remember sitting in a bar talking to a group of people, and they're trying to figure out what I did. And we were just talking in general about the future. The details are on the blog. I think it's stlrecruiting.com, which you can look them up on. But I was just, I was so desperate to let them know that I wanted to be indispensable. I wanted the company to need me to work because that's what I wanted to do. It's what I existed to do. I've always liked working. I've always defined myself by that. I'm okay with it. I'm more than that as a human being, but working has always been very important to me. What I do, what I'm capable of doing, has formed a large part of my identity. And so at the time, at the age of 25, the goal was to be indispensable. I wanted the company, maybe not to fail if I wasn't there, but I wanted to make sure they never got rid of me. I wanted them to feel what I could do for them. And it's funny because the guy had been there a little bit longer, not actually at the company, but 10 years older than I am. He looked at me in the eye and he said, "No one's indispensable. You can't be indispensable." Bothered me. It really bothered me that someone would even say that because that's what I wanted to be. And unknowing to me at the time, that really it wasn't much longer before I left that company because you couldn't really be indispensable. Things changed. The role that I was in was no longer as cool as it was. And eventually I went out to California. I've been around 12 years since then, 13 years since then. And I get it now. I think I get it. I don't think it's necessarily so easy to be indispensable inside of a large company. Partly because there is no such thing. I mean, the desire of an employee to be indispensable is the same as the businessman has of wanting no risk. If you could go to anybody and say, there's no risk, you hire this person, they will make you money. You buy this piece of equipment, you rent this office place out. If you could actually make it that there's no risk, they'd all do it. It would be fun, but they'd all do it. And yet, this really is what separates. Taking risk is what you're supposed to do if you're an entrepreneur. You take the risk. If it doesn't work out, you fail. If it does, you get a big reward. That's the whole point. And yet, as a young man and many employees, we want to be indispensable, or we want things to be stable. We're willing to give our loyalty if the company can just stick with us. It doesn't work that way. And so ultimately I did what most people who decide they have to be indispensable. I went and started my own company. I started my own firm. I have people working for me now. And I'm truly indispensable to my company. It's not big enough. I mean, what's funny is every day I'm working so that I'm not indispensable. My whole goal is to make it so I can go away for 3 months and be on vacation. I'm not sure. I haven't read his book. Hadn't read Godin's book, but it was just interesting to me because we're always trying to do something to maintain our jobs or keep our companies alive. And part of that is because life, it's all spiritual and deep on you, life is about growth. Civilizations and systems are about growth. Because there's no such thing as I forget what it's called, the hamster that moves forever. There's no such thing as a closed loop system. This is what they're trying to get with power and with the ecodome, the biodome. There's no such thing in life. Things take raw materials in and they bring out a finished product and they grow. And if they don't grow, they die. That is the nature of things. And you can say, well, things have shrunk over time, but just because you can slow the rate of death doesn't necessarily mean that it's not over. And so I like all things, I wonder how much our desire to grow is based almost pathologically on our fear of death. Is that what it is? You want to be indispensable so that you matter? Maybe it's the type of thing that should be covered more with a shrink than in talking about employment. But I think if you can figure out that this is who you are, if you have a need like that to be indispensable and you don't want to start your own company, or recognizing that's the only way, that the desire to be indispensable is really just desire for stability. I think if you can understand that, you can probably manage it a little better. I mean, it didn't affect me. It's not like I really understood what wanting to be indispensable was. It was just a 3-beer philosophical argument. But it's something we should be aware of. Who we are determines the type of work that we want to do, and the type of people we want to be, and the type of companies we want to run or work for. So I would guess the question for you is, if you're out there looking for a job or thinking about a career path or starting your own company, who are you and how is that going to affect your decisions? Have a good one.